Salam. My name's Nyrah. I'm a GP pharmacist and I'll be your host for today's health show on British Muslim TV. Before we begin, wishing you all a very happy new year. I hope you guys have started your New Year's resolutions, whether that's starting the gym or changing your diet. Today's topic of discussion, we will be talking about living a healthier lifestyle. I have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Mark Cox, and he'll be more than happy to answer a range of different questions I've set out for him. It'd be great to introduce the guest. Hello, Dr. Mark.
Hi, Nyrah. Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you so much for even coming on the show as well. Great start to the year and a great topic to discuss. I think before we go into the questions, it'd be great if you give a nice introduction to our viewers, a bit about yourself and your current role.
Yeah, no worries. I've been looking forward to this all week. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Nyrah. Like Nyrah said, my name is Dr. Mark Cox. I'm a junior doctor based down in London at the moment, but over the last sort of 18 months or so, I've done most of my work up in Manchester with COVID patients in particular, as a lot of doctors have. But what I'm going to speak a little bit about today and what I'm really passionate about is a specialty of medicine called lifestyle medicine. And through lifestyle medicine, I try and educate people on social media on my platform called The Straight Talking Doctor, particularly on Instagram. And that's really what I'm passionate about and what we're probably going to talk a little bit about today.
That's great. Thank you for that. I think lifestyle medicine, I've actually heard of the term, multiple times. And I think now where healthcare is moving towards is taking a bit more of a holistic approach. What is lifestyle medicine?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that has definitely gained popularity, lifestyle medicine, over the last maybe 10, 20 years. But it's a specialty of medicine that really looks to work out what the root cause of disease is and treat it from that way. And it's made up of different areas, and I tend to classify it in 4 different areas. So, diet and nutrition, that's one, sleep, stress reduction, and then movement and exercise. And there are a few other bits that go into it, but they're the sort of 4 main categories. And what I really love about lifestyle medicine is that through it, we get to teach our patients about these different areas and how they impact their health. And when we do that, we empower them to make changes that can generally improve their health and well-being. So not only do these interventions, not only are they quite simple a lot of the time, they can have quite profound effects on patients' health.
Yeah, sure. And I think, it is important that we do take lifestyle medicine into consideration, during our consultation. It's not always just about being diagnosed, taking your over-the-counter medications and prescription drugs, and then kind of leaving patients in the dark there. Why is lifestyle medicine so important? And can you give any of our viewers some examples of lifestyle medicine interventions?
Absolutely. I think sometimes one of the things I found that I lost a little bit of inspiration with is sometimes we just give medications to a patient and don't really look at what is the root cause. And lifestyle medicine is, as I've learned about it, it does go back to basics and it helps us teach patients what that is. And it's holistic in the sense that it focuses on different areas of our life that we can make changes to, such as the sleep, diet, exercise, and stress. And there is plenty of evidence to show that that can have huge improvements in patients' health outcomes and have massive beneficial effects. So, for example, let's take sleep. Sleep, when we get someone's sleep right, when we improve their sleep, it doesn't just help their energy the next day. It can also have effects on patients' blood sugar. It can also have an effect on patients' weight. So it has this sort of cascade of different benefits that can sort of lead into different areas of their life and help them in more of a general way as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned sleep, and that's such an overlooked but so important cure and benefit of a day-to-day kind of intervention you can take. And most patients probably don't know actually the importance of sleep on the day-to-day mood and health. Should all patients aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep? Why is it so important we actually take more precaution when it comes to our sleeping habits?
Yeah, it's a big question, and sleep is an absolutely fundamental pillar of health. I mean, just take, for example, every single animal on the earth has to sleep otherwise it can't survive. So that really shows how important it is. I mean, that's just basic, isn't it? And what happens in our, in our bodies and our brains when we sleep is that we are allowed to rest and recover. Certain processes happen that allow us to work efficiently and effectively the next day, when we are awake. Now, the evidence is clear that if we don't get enough sleep over long periods of time, we have a lower life expectancy. And that's that, there's plenty of evidence of that. Now, whether or not that's 7 to 8 hours, that's a basic rule that we like to give. But if you look into the science of it, it's all, everyone's slightly different. Some people may need 10 hours, some people may only need 5, but 7 to 8 hours is a really good place to start. Now, I'm certainly not a sleep expert, but for anyone interested in improving their sleep, I would recommend a chap called Matthew Walker. He's written a book called Why We Sleep, and if you follow him on social media, he's absolutely brilliant, and that book has plenty of really good information on how important sleep is for us.
Oh, thank you for the recommendation. I'll definitely check out that author and the book. And just coming towards sleep tips in general. Now, loads of patients might find it super hard to fall asleep naturally. Loads actually depend on, over-the-counter herbal supplements, such as Nytol or Somninex, or even, the stronger Z drugs, such as Zopiclone you have. Are there any key ways out there to actually improve your sleep, or is there any way to actually sleep faster? Oh, I think
absolutely.
Dr. Mark Cox, with connection's just gone. We'll just pop him back on the screen. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. One that we'll just sort out the video. Yeah, we'll just wait for him to come back on. But in the meantime, I'll continue on with the sleep remedies. Now, sleep, of course, is one of the most important things to actually focus on when it comes to your health. And some of the over-the-counter remedies you can actually use are Somninex and your Nytol. Now, these remedies I would usually recommend to patients to take probably once or twice a night. However, the duration you really need to focus on. So I would say maximum 2 weeks in general, and not to go beyond that 2 weeks, especially because you don't want your body to become used to and dependent on these nighttime remedies. Now, other topics I will be discussing with Dr. Mark Cox when we do actually reconnect with him is not only sleep, but mental health. I'll just check if he's on. Oh, hi, Dr. Mark. Sorry about that interruption.
I'm not sure what happened there.
Okay? That's absolutely fine.
We're back.
That's fine. Yeah, we're back. I was just mentioning to the viewers about the different topics we'll be talking about. I was just mentioning to them not to actually go beyond, a 2-week duration of, over-the-counter nighttime pills all the time, because we don't want our bodies to actually get used to these medicines. And there's so many different natural ways we can get back to a very healthy sleeping pattern. Is there any tips that you can actually provide to viewers on how to naturally improve their sleep?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the reasons I love lifestyle medicine is it does try to avoid any different remedies that we can take, because all medications can have side effects, and like you say, you don't want to take things for too long. A medication can be used in a short period of time as more of an emergency thing, but my biggest tip, I think, sleep is probably the easiest thing that we can change and have the most profound effect on improving our health. And the biggest thing for me is to do something called setting up a bedtime routine. Now, this might seem really simple, but what it does is it teaches our brains to get back in check with our circadian rhythm. Now, our circadian rhythm is our body clock. That you've probably heard of a body clock before, but it gets us back in sync with that. Now, if we just jump into bed after flying around at 100 miles an hour all day, been on social media, had a stressful day at work, it's going to be really difficult to nod off. So what do I mean by setting up a bedtime routine? Maybe an hour before bed, we would stop using our phone or stop watching the TV. And that will get rid of the blue light exposure that tells your body or your body clock that you're not ready for bed. Maybe then we'll have a warm shower or a bath, which can relax us. Maybe then we'll get into our clothes that we sleep in, brush our teeth, maybe read our book for 10, 20 minutes, and then try and fall asleep. Now, if you do that every day and you get into that routine, it can really help you switch off and fall asleep faster. And I've seen that happen with lots and lots of people and lots of patients before.
Brilliant tips. I think we all need to learn to actually put down our mobile phones at least 20 minutes before we go to bed, just to make it much easier for us to actually fall asleep faster. I've actually looked at multiple studies online that say, yes, social media is one of the biggest distractions, not only due to day-to-day work, but also when it comes to sleep. Now, we will be coming up towards a break very soon. In the second part of the show, we will actually be discussing mental health. We will be talking to Dr. Mark Cox about procrastination, signs of burnout. COVID has had a big impact on loads of people when it comes to, mental health, and more people working from home now. And it's been super difficult for patients to actually, get out of their books, get out of their office work, and just to focus on relaxation. I'd also be touching on gut health. So all our guts have natural bacteria, and when this bacteria balance goes out of balance, it can actually lead to an unhealthy gut. So we'll be talking to Dr. Mark Cox also about probiotics and how our gut flora can be rebalanced naturally, and how diet can also affect our gut health. Now, if you've missed part 1 of the show, there will be a recording on our Facebook to rewatch the show and to go over any topics you might have missed. If you do have any show recommendations in the future, you can also drop us a message on the WhatsApp number on the actual screen. Do follow our Facebook and our Instagram pages for regular weekly updates on our health show. Now, my name was Nyrah, GP pharmacist, and I'm your host of today's health show. Every week and Thursdays at 7 p.m, our show will be live. Please join us again. Part 2, we'll be talking to Dr. Mark Cox a bit more about living a healthier lifestyle. Welcome back after the break. My name's Nyrah and I'm a GP pharmacist, and I'm your host for today's health show. Now, in part 1, we discussed living a healthier lifestyle with a very special guest. His name's Dr. Mark Cox. Lovely to reintroduce Dr. Mark again. Hi, Mark. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, fingers crossed the connection stays with us.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant. Now, end of part 1, we actually discussed, sleeping habits and how to improve your sleep. It'd be great to actually move on now and talk a bit more about how COVID has actually affected so many people when it comes to, mental health, as well as just, their physical appearance and probably their fitness, as they're most likely staying at home for so long. Why is it important that we actually speak up about our mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, COVID is not the only pandemic that we are facing at the moment. We're facing one with mental health. And to put that into context, 18 people per day commit suicide in the UK, which is just staggering. And it's the biggest killer of men under 50 years old, which, is something I can't quite get my head around. It's something I'm really passionate about. And I'm starting my own podcast, which the first series is all about mental health. And it really is important to speak up about mental health, more so now than ever, because when we talk about these kind of issues, when we make them more mainstream, it brings mental health into the space that allows for a more open and honest conversation about it. It means people feel more comfortable about talking about their issues, and it is by opening up about our issues, and that's the first step really with tackling mental health.
Definitely. I think there's also like a taboo about the whole mental health topic in general. A lot of people feel as if, they should kind of just bottle up their emotions and, not really actually talk up to a healthcare professional about their mental health. And a lot of people actually forget, there's your local pharmacist, or you actually can speak to your doctor about any issues or concerns you're actually facing. And in terms of mental health in general, 50% of millennials actually go through burnout from their current job. Recent statistics show it's actually more common in men than females. What is burnout, and can anyone kind of experience burnout just through their job alone?
Yeah, I mean, just to put it clearly, burnout is a syndrome of different symptoms, physical and mental, both, which are related to usually chronic workplace and emotional stress. And when we don't manage that stress, it can lead to sort of emotional, physical, or mental exhaustion. And it can certainly affect anyone, and it clearly has affected more and more people as the pandemic has raised stress levels.
And is there any cure for kind of like a burnout? I think mainly it's probably just, learning to actually relax when you need to. Any tips?
Yeah, definitely. I've got two things I want to touch on here. There's definitely a cure for burnout, but we need to sort of work out what the cause of the burnout is. Number one, the main thing I would say is to seek support and compassion, and I'd say that for all mental health problems. Ideally, if the source of burnout is something that's happening at work, speaking to someone like your manager or someone that can help or alleviate that stress is probably the best and the most sensible thing to do. If you can't do that, then confiding in and speaking to a loved one, someone who can give you support, someone who can offer, not just talking about that situation, they can actually offer the best advice. The people around us, they always have the best advice for us. So that's really number one. And number two is something slightly different that I've spoken about on my social media before, and that's something called completing your stress response cycle. Now, what does this mean? So when something stressful happens, say, for example, something happened to me at work today. I wanted to leave on time to get to back home for this interview, and I had a sick patient and I couldn't leave work, and I was feeling very stressed. So when you are stressed, what happens in the body is you have a stress response, otherwise known as the fight or flight system. And that's helped us survive for hundreds of thousands of years. We release hormones such as adrenaline, such as cortisol, which is a steroid, and that helps us feel fired up. And what that used to do was allow us to evade danger or fight danger. And it means that, it's one of the reasons why we survive so long as humans. But if these days, that often is not the best thing to happen. And if we don't, if we allow that to go unchecked and it builds up over time, we get chronic stress and we get burnout. So if work is the stressor, one of the easiest things to do is make sure we complete that stress response cycle. So when I got home today, what I did is I had a shower and I did 5 minutes of breathing exercises. Other examples of completing the stress response cycle is doing a 10-minute walk or maybe reading for 5 minutes. And what that does is it allows the hormones to settle and you to feel nice and relaxed again.
That was a really good informative, description of our natural body stress response. And, exercise is probably one of the biggest cures, to be honest. Reduces your stress levels, reduces your cortisol levels, and just helps you regain your heart rate to a much more lower pace. And I think a lot of people, when they face stress or, they have a really busy lifestyle, they can't really manage their time wisely, their stress actually leads to procrastination, rather than productivity. Is there any ways we can actively beat procrastination or, use our stress to lead to, better outcomes in both our work and our personal lives?
Yeah, I mean, anyone that knows me knows that's something I have to work on. My procrastination levels are through the roof a lot of the time. My brain is far too busy for its own good sometimes. But the number one thing I would say is control the distractions that you can control. Things that, for me, the main one is my phone. I'm terrible. I'll put my hands up. I'm a sucker for Instagram. And so I need to get it out of my environment. So what I do is if I have a task to complete, I put it in a different room. I set a time and I don't go back to the phone until I've done the task, unless something obviously comes up and I need to, but I try my best to do that. So that would be my number one tip for procrastination.
Perfect, thank you. And some studies even reveal that your gut and your food intake has a big impact on your mood. There is a relationship between your gut and your mood. Can you talk to us a bit more about this relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to clarify, so our gut, when we talk about our gut, that's the tube that goes all the way from the mouth all the way to the back passage. But usually when we talk about in this sense, it's usually the stomach and the intestines that we're referring to. And they're often called the second brain. They have tons and tons of neurons in them and nerves that can control not just how you feel physically, but there is a connection called the gut-brain axis that works between your gut and your brain. They sort of transmit different chemicals through, and they can transmit signals through the nerves that connect them. And they are also regulated by something which I think we'll touch on briefly called the gut microbiome.
What is the gut microbiome?
So the gut microbiome is a collection of literally trillions of different bacteria, different viruses and fungi that live along the gut lining, and they've been with us since the dawn of time, really. It is amazing, really. It weighs 4 pounds. You can't see it, but it weighs 4 pounds. There is more DNA in the gut microbiome than our own cells. So we're always learning about the gut microbiome, but it performs a number of key roles. It helps us digest food. It helps us absorb different nutrients and vitamins from our food. And it also helps, even regulate our immune system, as well as obviously what we said before, and it helps us regulate our mood.
And, if we had an imbalance of our gut microbiome, could that lead to different consequences or different health conditions?
Absolutely. What we know so far about the gut microbiome, it's always, the science is always emerging, but we know that diversity is key. And having a diverse range of different bacteria is one of the most important things. And over the last 100 years or so, as we've become more industrialized, we've lost a lot of that diversity. If you look at the Hadza tribe, which are an indigenous tribe, which kind of stay away from the Western world or the modern world, their gut microbiome is extremely diverse compared to us. So scientists and many doctors think that having this diversity and trying to increase diversity lowers the risk of lots of different chronic health conditions.
Sure. And I know a lot of my patients in particular, they always inquire about probiotics. Now, probiotics are used to actually naturally restore your gut bacteria. What are your thoughts on probiotics? Do they actually work?
So the evidence is split on probiotics. So just to touch base, probiotics are types of live bacterial yeast that we can ingest that are living and potentially give health benefits. The evidence for them in treating or curing conditions is very mixed and not particularly good. However, anecdotally, lots of people do say they feel better with probiotics, and in certain conditions, particularly sort of young babies that are born with antibiotic treatment and things like that, they can definitely be very beneficial. If you feel better taking something and it's not harmful, probiotics don't tend to be, then I wouldn't massively advise against doing it. But again, I wouldn't also bank on it being a cure for all of your problems. That's where I sort of sit on it.
Oh, brilliant. And I think diet has a big impact on our gut microbiome as well. The things that we eat. Should we always be watching our diets in terms of our gut health? Is there any ways we can actually improve our gut health naturally just by the food that we take?
100%. And that's where I would start with patients if they want to improve their gut health. Rather than probiotics, I would try prebiotics. So prebiotics are the type of food that feed our bacteria. Now that is mainly plant-based food, so lots of fruit and vegetables. So my biggest tip is to try and eat the rainbow, or eat up to 30 different plants each week. Now that can be very hard, and if you start that from going from a diet that hasn't got any plants in, you may notice a few uncomfortable symptoms, but it's something that you can do slowly and introduce over time. And that is really the biggest thing that you can do to try and improve your gut microbiome. That will improve the diversity. The flip side of that is that we know certain foods can be inflammatory. Now, they tend to be processed foods or ultra processed foods. So examples of these are junk food or very heavily processed meats or fast food. So trying to limit them, I would never say completely cut those out, is a good step.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cox. It was a really good insight into the gut microbiome and dietary influences. really sorry, but that is coming towards the end of our show now. Hope you guys have really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for Dr. Cox for actually coming on. It's been really informative. You know, we spoke about so many different topics today, from sleep, from burnout, from mental health to gut health. They all in some way are all interlinked and are very important. Join us again next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about a different topic. Good night. Take care. Thank you for watching.